So, Rob, we're talking about nails, and you've spoken about the side of the nail on which the thumb should play,
Right.
which is the right side.
Right.
But I'm wondering, what about rest stroke, free stroke? I mean, what are the considerations? What side?
The meat,
Yeah.
the heart of the matter,
Mm.
right? Okay, so for a rest stroke, let's think about the left side of the nail, right?
Mm.
That's very inherent, with the idea of
I can see just by your demonstration why it is effective to
Right.
play off
Where-
the left side.
where we could think, for instance, of mellow
Mm.
tone, we can think of singing, and especially in conjunction with vibrato.
Vibrato, yes.
Vibrato. Right, and warm, well-behaved
Yeah.
moods.
It can really only be on the left side. I mean, if you
Yeah,
achieve that kind of effect, right?
that's my thinking
Yeah.
about it. Right. Okay. Now, on the other hand, free stroke, we can think of as being much more projecting. Actually, they tend to think of rest stroke as being louder.
Yes,
but in actual
that's
fact,
what I think of it as.
okay.
Yes.
Let me see if I can modify your thinking a little bit. That we are or should be all children of Julian Bream.
Children
In this
of
respect,
Julian.
yes, because what Bream showed us is the ultimate extension of free stroke into the what I call the Bream Ponty realm,
Yeah, he
and
was really good at that.
well, I suppose is. Are you out there, Julian?
Well, it's just because we don't see him play so much anymore.
And we still hear him on his recordings.
Yes,
but
yeah.
First of all, it's interesting to speculate, how did that come about? Okay, number one, take probably the greatest coloristic genius, okay, and number two, make him hold a lute. So what do you do if you want to do tone color on the lute? You don't slide your arm.
Okay.
Because you have to be holding the lute.
Right.
So what you do is you go over like this, and you play off the right side of the nail.
Okay.
Now, for all I know, he may not even be aware that he's playing off the right side of the nail. I don't know. I just don't know. The only thing I know is that he's not very fond of discussing technique.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that's the thing with great talent.
Exactly.
It tends not to think about
Exactly.
how and why it does what it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Precisely, and we don't have to worry about any of that, But the big thing is that if we're thinking free stroke and we want to know what is the ultimate potential of the stroke, then we have to think normal and Ponty. If we're thinking about rest stroke, the ultimate potential of the stroke, you see, so we have this continuum. And the guitar should have this as a great strength. The idea that our coloration, okay, it can be continuously variable, or it also can be discontinuously variable. That I can go. You see, if you contrast that, for instance, with the harpsichord, where on the harpsichord you have to have a second to pull out a stop. Now it doesn't take very long, but it still conditions the psychology very, very highly, because it will tend to be between sections, whereas on the guitar it should actually be possible to do it between phrases or even within phrases.
Yep.
Now, what has actually happened, you see, is that because the concept of the relaxed wrist, the curved wrist, has largely been lost, and because people are playing like this,
Yes.
this has had profound effect, negative effect, on the coloristic potential of the guitar.
Yep.
Because what it does is it forces them to play their ponticello off the left side of the nail. And it also means that they need a little bit of time
To shift.
to shift, right. Now it's not much, but the point is that it's enough so that your thinking tends to congeal around doing it between sections or
Or at the end of a phrase,
doing it,
yeah.
in
When
an
there's time. when there's time,
when
sufficient time.
Yeah, and sort of doing it because I have to, you know, and this kind of thing, which is not the Bream spirit
Yes.
at all. Now, what I thought I'd do here, we have another issue, and I'll try to illustrate these two issues simultaneously, which is the question of register equality. Okay. Now, first of all, what I should do is I should say, look, that for the purposes of our demonstration here, my rest stroke, okay, left side. Now, watch this very carefully. There is the free stroke. Rest stroke, left side of nail. Free stroke, right side of nail. Free stroke, punty. Rest stroke, tosto. I didn't have the foggiest clue about this for the first 30, who knows, I don't know.
Okay.
You know, okay, but the point is that it is an extremely
It's very
efficient,
very easy.
very easy.
Discreet. I
Right.
can see how it just, you
Yeah.
know, just by a very slight movement, you're achieving
You
a
can
different
do it
stroke.
quickly.
Yes.
Quickly, you
Yes.
know, and this shows, I think, the inherent brilliance, you see, in the free stroke, that once you get it off the right side of the nail, okay? Stiff wrist, punty, still played off the left side of the nail, right side of the nail, punty. Now, we come to what I call the Boré problem. Okay, the Boré problem is that I've got to be able to play with equal power in the sixth and first strings, right?
Yeah.
The idea of the guitar is that you can cover all the notes at any given time
Yep.
with the right hand, whereas with the lute, you've got diapasons and so on and so forth. Okay, fine. So, right side of thumbnail, right side of eye finger, which gives me. Okay, now, if I want to go here, then, if I want to go here, sure, but even going beyond that, look, say that I wanted to do this. Here's the Bream spirit. Of course, you'd never do it in such a tasteless way. I'm just doing that for demonstration
For effect, yes.
purposes.
Yeah.
But you see, that is within the phrase.
Yes.
And that's the real genius of the guitar.
Yeah, because I think 99, or dare I say 100% of the guitarists, professional guitarists out there are playing this way.
Yeah.
I think that would be close to impossible, or it would just take a very, very long time for them to practice that, whereas you just did that in, you know, like it was nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, look, one thing we have to be very, very careful about, and that is that here we're just dealing with generalities.
This certainly comes across to me as a very efficient way of achieving a variation in tone color.
Good.
Yeah.
And the point here, you see, is that because I'm starting without bias in my hand, then every adjustment that I make is for the purpose of mic effect. You see, that
mainstream instrumental
criteria, right?
effect.
You see, that I'm not asking myself in the beginning what feels most comfortable. I'm asking myself in the beginning what is going to produce the effect. You know, like if
Very
you
good point. Yes, very good point.
If you take string players, for instance, okay, they may use French bowing, they may use German bowing. There are different attitudes, but the point is that each one is a valid system that produces results according to its design. You know, okay, fine. I mean, guitar hasn't reached that point yet.
No.
Maybe it will. You know, where we'll say, okay, here's Segovia and here's everybody else, or whatever. You know, and I mean, we don't have to worry too much about that. You know, but the big thing that we've got to see is what is inherent in the guitar is its versatility. And that to the extent that we address that versatility and exploit it in the mic world, the guitar succeeds.
Yeah.
You know, and to the extent that we throttle it, as it is now so often being throttled, and we just sort of pretend that it's a small piano, then the guitar diminishes
Greatly.
Yes, yes, because I don't care how fast you play the guitar, you're never going to even come close to what can be done on the piano. If I put it this way, okay, that plain punti on the left side of the nail, I would say is somewhat like having a duel, and you will use your foil, which is that, and I will duel with a banana.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it's not that no effect is achieved. There is a certain effect, but it's just very much diminished compared with, you know, what you could hope to do.
It's very unequal.
Exactly.
Very unequal comparison. Yes.
Yeah, and then on the other hand, if I'm thinking about rest stroke punti, okay, rest stroke punti, it can do things, and there's always exceptions to rules, and the
Yes.
really brilliant people will tend to think of those. But for me, rest stroke punti is a bit toothless. You know, it doesn't go so far as being a limp banana, but it's a bit toothless. You know, and so
Compared to free stroke, I mean, when you
free
compare
stroke
it to the
right side of
effects,
the nail
yes.
punti, you see, which I'm doing with my arm effortlessly and continuously.
Yep.
You know, one other thing just to wrap up this segment that we might mention here, and that is this question of tension. You know, what is tension?
Tension is tension. You know, like muscular rigidity.
Okay.
That's unnecessary.
Ah. Yeah, that's important. That's important. Okay, now, I mean, you know, there have been PhD theses done on what
Right.
tension is and so on and so forth, but I just offer a very, very simple idea here that tension is misdirected effort. And if we want to get a very clear picture of this, you're a guitar teacher, and you know that when you're starting out students, one of the big complaints is holding up the left hand.
Yeah.
And that after they've been playing for 6 months or a year or something, well, nobody talks about how hard it is to hold up the left hand anymore.
Because they've gotten used to it.
Exactly, they've strengthened it, you see. So if we apply this principle, you know, across the boards, that what I'm doing when I play like this, for instance, it's not tense because I've trained myself to do it. You see, now people look at my hand like, I don't know how many emails I've had or comments at the website, you know, where they say, oh, well, you know, we really like your playing, but getting my hand in that position, I just could never do it, you know. And what I'm suggesting is, you know, consider some training. You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
with training, that
yeah, you can do amazing things, you see. And my right hand, you know, they'll say, oh, we can see the tension in his hand, but what they're actually seeing is healthy effort. And my right hand, you know, I mean, my body is deteriorating, of course, in my 7th decade, but amazingly enough, my right hand feels as good as ever.
Yeah.
And it traipses all over the guitar and is perfectly happy doing this.
You've been playing that way for some time now.
Well, it's even getting more extreme, you know, because I've learned about right side of the nail, and again, it wasn't comfortable in the beginning, but because I've trained myself to do it, because of the advantages,
Yes.
you know, that's the point.
But you hardly see that nowadays.
Yeah, well, let's hope that our work here will begin
Yeah, I
to
hope so
maybe
too.
shift
Yes.
things back a bit.
Hope so too. Thank you, Rob.